Crime by Badradeen Mohammed. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you the start of my story today. I came to the UK at the age of 22 and settled in the city of Glasgow. From the very first day, Glasgow welcomed me warmly. I came as an asylum seeker who fled the unjust former regime of Sudan. During the first 3 months, I lived in the YMCA at Petershill Drive, and when I was granted asylum, I moved to a homeless accommodation, which was St. Enoch Hotel. As soon as my asylum was granted, I started studying ESOL for construction at the Pearce Institute at Govan, which was a collaboration with the City of Glasgow College. My intention was to prepare myself for work, as I was a former builder and decorator. I got into the course through my caseworker at the Refugee Council. I spent about a month at St. Enoch Hotel, but couldn't live longer as the situation was tough. There were no cooking facilities and no prepared meals for residents, and I had so little to live on. They moved me after that to another homeless accommodation, which I spent 9 months at, before moving to a temporary flat in Maryhill. That place was Bob McTaggart House. After finishing my course in a few months' time, I joined City of Glasgow College to study ESOL. After examining my English, they put me in the Intermediate 1 class. However, 3 months later, they moved me to the Intermediate 2 class, as my English improved so fast. During my study, I showed my teachers my writing, and they were so fascinated by it. In 2012, during my study of Intermediate 2, our teachers organized with the creative writing class head teacher at that time, Dr. Linda Jackson, to work collaboratively with her students producing original pieces. I worked with a student called Andy Burton, who became a good friend of mine. We wrote a poem called Sarah, and then we all as a group performed our poems at the Scotia Bar in an event called Reading the Waves. During that time, I was volunteering with St. Mungo's Museum for Religious Life and Arts in a project called The Curious Project, as I was invited to participate. The project was about finding a common ground for London 2012. We were 22 participants from 18 different nationalities. Alongside with that project, I was also involved in another project with Glasgow Museums called the Handling Kit Project. Although my grade wasn't great that year, I was awarded the overall Student of the Year for my impact. During that year as well, my short story Village Boy in the City won the Diversity and Inclusion competition for the ESOL department. I wrote it when my teacher asked me to write something for the competition. Until here, everything was running smooth and fine. At the end of 2012, I moved to the higher advanced ESOL. I was also involved in a refugitic theater, which was organized by Annette Henneman, which took place at St. Mungo's Museum, and I was just playing me, the poet. But not long after that, things had changed. During my volunteering with the Curious Project, I entered a short story competition which took place at the Scotia Bar. A few of my classmates and colleagues from the project attended. I was chosen by the Sudanese community to be the chairman of the community for the beginning of 2013. At that time, I wasn't drinking alcohol at all, and I am not now. I was just on cannabis. But after performing at the theater, I had a couple of drinks with the group. However, 2 days later, I was invited by friends from the project to meet up at the Scotia Bar, as that was the end of our project. On the day of our appointment, I met a few friends as usual. We smoked, we laughed, then on time I headed to the Scotia. In the bar, I had a good time with my friends, but there was a man from the story competition who offered me a drink. I refused at first to accept it, but after his insistence, I accepted it. As soon as I had that drink, I didn't feel myself, but I kept myself in one piece till we walked out. The Sudanese community were organizing an event, and I had to perform in it. One of my friends who was with me at the bar came with me to the event. I performed very well, and no one noticed anything on me. The following days, I started to get paranoid, and not too long till I was admitted to a mental health hospital as a voluntary patient. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, and I became normal in a couple days, and I didn't miss a class during that time, as I used to go to the college every day from hospital. However, the trouble didn't end there, as after 2 weeks the doctor decided to discharge me, which was good, but while I was waiting for my medications, a new patient was admitted to the ward. He tried to be my friend, and I didn't mind. He gave me a poem written on a piece of paper, and on the top of the paper, written from a church in Nigeria. The words looked nice, so I accepted it with a smile. Later on, while I was waiting for my medications, I tried to make a cup of coffee. Then that man approached me, offering a bottle of juice. I refused to take it at first, but he begged me. He was an old man, and with his insistence, I accepted it. I went to my room, had only a few sips of that juice, and I felt a panic attack. I felt as if I was dying, so I started praying, grabbed the holy book of Quran and started to read, but the panic was too much. However, I ended up in the IPCU. During the first 2 weeks, I was normal. Then the doctor at the IPCU put me on antipsychotic medication. I started using them, and I became unable to move around or do the very little things. I told them about the effect that medication had on me, so they put me on an order, and I ended up with a depot injection, marking this beautiful beginning of a journey that I had, as I had to withdraw from college, and that made me lose years of my life and many people I loved. That was just the start.